Ooh, what's this? This is a 1500 Valkyrie Honda, 1997. So in 1988, the Goldwing turned into a 1500cc six-cylinder from a 1200cc four-cylinder. You know, Honda had tried in 85 and 86 with fuel injection on the Goldwings, but they went back to carburetors on this thing. So we have basically a flat six engine, which is 3 cylinders on each side, carbureted, liquid cooled. So essentially it's a naked Goldwing that came out. I think these came out in 97, and that's what vintage this is. So I know the question you're all asking is like, Ian, why did you buy a Valkyrie? Well, actually I didn't. Somebody gave it to me, and that's true, which is fucking ace. So anyway, and I'd always wanted one, you know, just as a novelty, but just to try one out, because I remember I did see a Marshall riding one around the Isle of Man TT course back in the 98 or 99, I think it was, and I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. So here it is. Anyway, so I've not had it that long, and I've rode it around. It had sat for a while, so I did have to clean the carbs. Removing the carburetors on this and cleaning them was not a difficult job. So you basically lift off the tank and seat, unscrew the airbox, lift that off, and then you have the usual amount of wrestling with the carbs, getting them off and getting them back on. What I did find was a lot of block jets, both mains and pilots, but I also found somebody hadn't done these screws up on these inlet manifolds as well, so it's probably sucking a lot of air. So it did run like shit, and I put a load of seafoam in it and ran it for like 30-40 miles, but it got better, but it didn't really fully clear up. So let's talk about it. So anyway, I cleaned the carbs, and actually, I'll tell you what I did with the main jets, because they're brass. I cleaned them in lemon juice. So, you know, you can get these jet cleaners and stuff like that, but I actually dropped them in some, you know, one of those squeezy lemon things in a little glass jar for, I think, overnight, and they clean up beautifully. Put it back together, started up, no issues. So, 6-cylinder flat six, derived from the Goldwing, and it essentially a naked Goldwing. I think this is called the F6. It is the F6. Look, Valkyrie F6 Honda. The more observant of you will already notice that. And it's big. It really, it's a big bike. So it weighs in at about 675 dry and 725 wet, which is the quoted figures, and it's about 100 pounds under the Goldwing, which kind of surprised me. I would have thought it'd be a bit lighter than that. But then when you actually look around at the bike, you realise, a bit like the old Z13, see my other videos, you realise that it's almost like, you know, you can have 2 out of 3, right? What is it? Expensive, light and strong. Or was it cheap, light and strong? You can have any 2. So they pick cheap and strong, which means it's big. There's a lot of metal. It's a heavy bike. Okay, so like I said, weighs in at 675. What's it like to ride? Well, I mean, the 6-cylinder engine's got some get up and go. I think these are about 100 horsepower, and a Goldwing's about 90. So you've got a bit more horsepower. You maybe sacrifice a little bit of the torque on that. But riding it, it handles nice. It's a very, very long wheelbase. I'd say it's almost, you know, 6, 7, 8 inches longer than, say, the FJ12. So it kind of turns slowly, but it's with the way it handles nicely. And what do I mean by that? I mean, it doesn't turn in too hard. It doesn't flop in corners. It just feels balanced and even, but it's heavy. So, you know, the biggest thing I found with this is when you're riding it and you get up to about 80, 85 miles an hour, which is about as fast as I took it. That's probably about as fast as you want to take it, really, and feel safe, because it's just you feel there's a lot of momentum. And again, there's some parallels with riding the Z13, because it's got a nice amount of torque. It's got that 6-cylinder noise, but it's got a lot of momentum and weight behind it. So I say it feels like a weighty bike. It's almost like a competitor to a Harley. I've not ridden many Harleys. I've only ever had one Harley, and that was a Harley Sprint, so that wasn't anything like this. But it's almost like it kind of lives in the same, it's mining a similar vein, as it were, as a Harley. So, you know, shaft drive, it looks like it might, no, maybe they're not air shocks on the back. This one has some saddlebag racks, and there are some leather saddlebags. This one also has a windshield. I noticed very sensitive to tyre pressures. I blew the tyres 2 or 3 psi higher. I think I got like 44 or 46 in the back and about 38, 39, 40 in the front. And that seemed to make it steer better, especially at low speed. But the one criticism I do have of this is the brakes. Back brakes okay. Front brakes are A. A for average. I mean, it's just a lot of bikes. So it's virtually the same calipers as used on a Honda ST1100. I'm pretty sure, actually, that's the same rear brake rotor. In fact, I'm 100% sure that it is. So back brakes, okay. I mean, you know, but the front brakes, man, there's just not enough of them in my mind on this. It's not, you know, and it's not to say it's dangerous and stuff like that, but stopping in a hurry is not this thing's speciality. Now, what I do like about this bike, 'cause I do like it, it's nice. I'm not going to keep it. I'll punt it in the season next year. Or maybe, I'll tell you what, another bike I've never had, but I've always wanted was a VMAX. So maybe I'll see if I can trade for a VMAX. But one thing about this bike is because it's so physically big, it's devilishly easy to work on because it's pretty simple as well. I mean, you've got liquid cooling and that, but you don't have any ABS, you don't have a massive amount of electronics on it. You know, it's and because it's so big, everything's pretty easy to get to. So like I say, you know, that basically taking off the carbs took me an hour. Stripping and clean the carbs took me maybe an hour and a half, and putting the carbs back on and getting over them took about 2 hours. So it really didn't take that long to clean the carbs on it. So it has what again, a criticism of this bike, not from me because I don't really know, but it's apparently they only do about 35 to the gallon. So the tank's about a 4-gallon tank, so you're about 120, 130 miles range on this thing, maybe a little bit more. Actually, in fact, it might be a 5-gallon tank. I don't know. Look it up on the interweb. But anyway, you're never going to get 200 miles out of this boy before you have to stop. Now, you know, which may not be a problem. It's got mounts on here for a windshield. So I say, you know, upside down forks, interestingly enough. So it does have some technology in it. One of which is leaking. So I do have a fork seal, and it takes about 600 cc's of oil in this bad boy. Well, they're different forks in different oil in different legs, because I think this one, no, it doesn't look like it's got the anti-dive, but it's different oil and different legs, so there must be something different going on there. Decent sized headlights, fairly, I would say primitive, let's call it traditional display. Let's fire this bad boy up. It was cold here this morning. It actually snowed, and we got down to like -19 degrees C, F, 19 degrees F the other day. And funnily enough, out there's some bears. And we haven't seen them, but my mate has got a game cam on one of those trees and some of those trees back there, and there's bears walking through there. And it's funny, it's not like, you know, bears are crepuscular. Well, they're not really crepuscular, but a lot of animals are crepuscular. Crepuscule, I think, is French word for twilight. So they come out in the, you know, early morning or late evening. And but the video Tom's got, it's like the bears like 10:30 in the morning, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They're just like cruising through. So it's pretty interesting because a couple of people have seen them, but most people haven't. Let's start this up. So it was cold, so this morning this thing was pretty cold, so I did warm it up, but it's, you know, it's got a lovely even idle. It just makes a nice kind of whirring noise, and then it's not fully warmed up yet. So it idles just about below 1,000 RPM. The guy I got it off said that his father-in-law had actually tuned one. So how you tune one of these, I don't know, but somebody else told me that they put a pair of performance camshafts in and made a lot of difference. So that'd actually be relatively easy, because if you think about it, the cylinder head's right here. So, you know, you basically have to drop the coolant and take the belts off and then undo the heads, and they'd come off. And in fact, cam removal might well be possible without stripping the heads down. I really don't know. I really don't know. But if it's configured like a Goldwing head, like a 1200, 1100,000 cc Goldwing head, you can take the cams out, take the heads off. So that would be a tuning option if you want to make this under-braked, overweight thing any more powerful, just to increase the fun factor. Shaft drive. It's funny, it's got a bow in the back here. My friend Mitch noticed that. He said, oh, it's got a bow on the back, and that's meant to be flat, and it looks very even. So I'm guessing that somebody's driven a car into the back of it and bent it very easily. Again, comes with a backrest, not a huge amount of room for the pillion, but it has some pillion foot plates. They look Cobra. They look like they're aftermarket. So, what do you want to pay for one of these? Well, obviously I paid nout for it, which was fucking ace. But, you know, honestly, 3 to 5 grand is probably where these are right around. There's any number of them on Craigslist in Denver for right around that. You know, that's private sale. And you know, and again, they're pretty easy to, I mean, they're just so open and walk around. This one's got one thing here. There's a catch for the side panel that's broken. The ignition key's at the side. If you want to know how to get the seat off, it's at that lock that's way inside there. So conclusion, nice enough bike, not really a classic. If you like this kind of thing, it's probably a decent alternative to a Harley. You know, when you get the reliability of the Honda. Maybe that's a bit unfair on Harleys, I don't know. But they're, you know, but they're not. It's a lot of bike for the money. You know, it might compete with that Triumph 3 or whatever, which is that like 2200cc 3-cylinder. Would I recommend one of these? Well, it's all whether you want one or not, really. You know, it's a cruiser. I bet you could go down the motorway nicely at 80 mile an hour all day, and I say you are very exposed because it's got these. I have to say I'm not a big fan of the pullback handlebars, but you know, so you have got like a wide open seating position, but it does have a big windshield that clips on. Another thing, actually, somebody's put a throttle lock on it. It's one of those throttle meisters, and I think these are a crock of shit. And more importantly, when the bars pull back, so they don't come out straight, right? They come out at an angle. You find yourself catching that with your hand, and suddenly the throttle's locked in place. It's missing the bar end plug off the other one, so I'm going to take those off and replace them. I say I don't know what it's like on tyres. I don't know anything like that. I guess 35 to the gallon is what I've read. So overall, they're a decent bike. They're not really a classic, but it's I say it's not a bad machine to ride if you want something that's big and heavy. And that's all I can really say about it. I mean, reliability, it's a Honda, so you're probably going to get lots of that. Longevity, I would think you'd pull 100,000, 150,000 miles out of the motor, you know, if you regularly change the oil and just, I don't know, check the valves and do shit like that. Because you know, why wouldn't it? I mean, you know, it's got the drive belts at the front as well to drive in the camshafts. Then, you know, servicing looks pretty easy because look, the oil filter's right there, and there's no bodywork to take off to do the sump. But this did have a recent oil change. But like I say, heavy in every sense of the word. So recommended? Yeah, sure, why not? You know, give it a whirl. For $3,000, you physically do get a lot of bike for your money. Here's also a bike for your money. A recent CB350 I picked up. Getting hard to find these bad boys these days. Especially one like this that has a key, handbook, toolkit and title, which is nice. And then my latest weapon of death, which is a really nice GSX-R1000 that I picked up. Oh, and an XT250 for riding in the mountains on the dirt, so I need to get that running. Got a carb kit coming on that one. So anyway, like I said, 1997 Honda Valkyrie. You know, not a bad motorcycle if you want one of these. I think that might be a fair statement. And on that statement, I'm going to go and have breakfast. All right, see you, bye.